The battlefield was silent now. Smoke still rose from broken machines and the ground was black with ash. Hours ago, the place had been filled with fire, shouting, and the clash of weapons. Now only one sound remained, the slow breathing of a man who should have been dead. The human soldier lay on the ground, his armor broken, his body weak from blood loss. Around him, alien soldiers moved like shadows, their tall bodies covered in sharp armor, their glowing eyes scanning every inch of the battlefield. They had won this fight. The human army was gone. Two aliens grabbed the soldier's arms and pulled him to his knees. His helmet fell away, showing his tired but still defiant face. He did not beg. He did not cry. He simply stared at the alien commander, waiting for the final blow, but the blow never came. The alien commander raised his hand, and the soldiers stopped. They spoke in a language the human could not fully understand, but the meaning was clear. Keep him alive. Why? Why keep one human alive when so many others had been killed without hesitation? The soldier's hands were tied with burning chains, energy restraints that cut into his skin. He was dragged through the ruins, past the wreckage of human vehicles and fallen comrades. Each step was heavy, each breath sharp, but his eyes still searched, still measured, still planned. A soldier never stopped looking for a way out. Hours passed. The alien fortress rose before him, a giant black structure carved into the mountains glowing with strange blue lights. It looked less like a building and more like a beast waiting to swallow him whole. Inside, the air was colder. The walls pulsed with alien energy, alive with moving symbols that he could not read. The soldier was shoved down dark halls, past doors that hummed with power, past guards that stared at him with both hatred and curiosity. Finally, he was thrown into a small chamber. The chains locked into the wall behind him, holding him in place. He expected torture. He expected questions. But instead, the door opened again. The alien commander entered. Taller than any human, his armor gleamed with golden edges, his presence heavy like a storm. He studied the soldier in silence for a long time, his glowing eyes showing no mercy. Then, with a single gesture, the commander spoke in clear human language. "You will not die today." The soldier narrowed his eyes. He had heard many things in war, but never this. "Why?" he asked, his voice low and steady. The commander did not answer. Instead, he motioned to the guards. The soldier was pulled back to his feet, dragged again through twisting halls, and finally brought to a heavy door covered in alien runes. The guards opened it. Inside was no prison cell, no torture chamber. It was a room, strange alien furniture, soft glowing lights, and at the center a small figure sitting quietly. A child. The human froze. The child had the same glowing eyes as the commander, but smaller, softer, filled with curiosity instead of hate. The child tilted their head, studying the human soldier as if he were some rare animal. The commander's voice was sharp, echoing in the chamber. "You will guard him." The soldier's heart pounded. Guard? A human prisoner guarding the child of his enemy? It made no sense. It was madness. "If the child is harmed," the commander said, his voice colder now, "you will suffer a fate worse than death." The soldier looked at the child, then back at the commander. His mind raced. Why trust him with something so valuable? Why not kill him and keep the child safe with their own soldiers? The door closed. The guards left. The chains unlocked. For the first time since capture, the soldier stood free, but trapped in a different way. The child stared at him silently. The fortress hummed around them, a cage of alien power. The soldier's instincts screamed at him. This was no gift, no mercy. This was a test. And in that moment, he understood one thing. His fate was no longer in his own hands. It was tied to the life of this child. The war was still raging outside. But inside this room, something stranger, more dangerous, was about to begin. The room was too quiet. The human soldier stood stiff, his body aching, his mind racing. He had survived battles, fire, and blood, but nothing had prepared him for this, standing in front of a child who belonged to the enemy's highest commander. The child's eyes glowed faint blue in the dim light. They were young, maybe no older than 10 in human years. Their skin shimmered faintly like starlight trapped in flesh, a sign of alien nobility. Yet beneath that otherworldly glow there was something universal. Fear. The soldier expected hatred. He expected insults or even commands, but the child only stared at him as if trying to understand. The silence stretched thick and heavy until the soldier spoke. "I am not your enemy," he said quietly. The words felt strange on his tongue. Was it a lie? Was it the truth? He did not know. The child tilted their head, then asked in a soft, careful voice, "Then what are you?" The soldier blinked. He had been called many things: warrior, soldier, prisoner, enemy, but never asked this by a child of the enemy general. He did not answer. The door opened again. 2 alien guards entered, carrying strange trays of food that glowed faintly. They placed one before the child and, to the soldier's surprise, placed another before him. The smell was sharp, unfamiliar, but clearly meant to be eaten. One guard spoke harshly in their alien tongue, glaring at the human. The child interrupted with a firm tone, and the guards lowered their heads, obeying. Then they left. The soldier frowned. Even at this age, the child commanded respect. Not a normal child, then. A child of power. A child who could order around soldiers. The silence returned as they ate. The human did not touch the food at first, suspicious of poison. But the child lifted a piece, took a bite, and smiled faintly. Only then did the soldier allow himself a taste. The flavor was bitter but filling. For a moment it felt almost normal. 2 beings sharing food, no weapons, no war, almost. After the meal, the child spoke again, voice low. "My father says humans are dangerous, that you are cruel, that you destroy." The soldier met those glowing eyes without flinching. "And what do you believe?" The child looked down, fiddling with the edge of their strange clothes. "I don't know. I've never seen a human before." Then their gaze lifted again, bright with curiosity. "Are you cruel?" The soldier's chest tightened. He thought of the battles, the dead, the orders he had followed without question. He thought of the friends he lost and the things he had done. His voice came out rough sometimes, but only when I must be. The child studied him in silence, as if weighing every word. Then, without warning, they smiled. It was small, cautious, but real. That smile unsettled the soldier more than any battlefield. Night fell, or at least the fortress shifted into darker tones, its glowing walls dimming. The child curled up on a strange bed of light. The soldier remained awake, his back against the wall, eyes sharp. He was free of chains, but not free of danger. He knew this was no kindness. He was here for a reason. When the fortress shook hours later, he understood why. A low alarm echoed through the walls. Shouts in the alien tongue rose outside the chamber. The child jolted awake, eyes wide. The door rattled, then burst open, not with guards, but with shadows, raiders. They were not the general's soldiers. Their armor was rough, marked with different colors, their movements fierce and hungry. A rival faction. They had come not for treasure, not for land, but for the child. The soldier moved without thinking. Training took over. His body reacted before his mind could catch up. He grabbed the child, pulling them close, shielding them with his own body. A raider lunged. The soldier struck back, using his chains like a whip, slamming it across the attacker's face. Another came from the side. He kicked hard, sending the alien crashing into the wall. The child screamed, clutching his arm, terrified. The soldier's heart pounded. He could run. He could leave now, escape in the chaos. Freedom was one step away. But he didn't. Instead, he fought harder, protecting the child as if they were his own blood. Every blow he delivered, every move he made was not for survival. It was for the safety of the enemy's heir. Finally, the guards arrived, their weapons blazing. The raiders fell one by one, retreating into the shadows. The chamber was secure again. The soldier dropped to one knee, breathing hard, his body shaking. The child looked at him, eyes wide, not with fear now, but with awe. "You saved me," the child whispered. The soldier said nothing. He simply sat back, exhausted, his eyes heavy. Outside the chamber, whispers spread quickly among the alien guards. A human prisoner, chained and beaten, had risked everything to protect the general's heir. And somewhere deep in the fortress, the alien general himself heard the report. His mind, sharp and unyielding, paused for the first time in years of war. Why would a human save his child? The answer would change everything. The fortress never slept. Its walls pulsed with faint blue light, and guards moved through the corridors like shadows. Yet in the child's chamber, time felt different, slower, heavier. The human soldiers sat near the door, always watching, always waiting. Days had passed since the raid. The bruises on his arm still ached, but he showed no weakness. The child, however, had changed. They no longer stared at him with suspicion. Instead, they asked questions, small, curious ones. What is Earth like? Do humans have children like me? Why do you fight us? The soldier never gave long answers. Sometimes silence was his shield. But sometimes, late at night when the fortress grew quiet, he allowed small truths to slip. He spoke of blue skies, of oceans that stretched forever, of laughter among soldiers before battle. And though he tried not to, he spoke of loss. The child listened wide-eyed. They had never seen a sky, never touched the sea. To them, the war was just walls, orders, and fear. But peace never lasts long in times of war. The warning came suddenly, a low rumble deep beneath the fortress. The walls trembled. Lights flickered. Distant roars echoed through the stone. The soldier was on his feet instantly, instincts burning. He grabbed the child's arm. Stay close, the door burst open. Alien guards rushed in, weapons drawn. One shouted in their strange tongue, panic sharp in his voice. Another motioned for the child, but before they could move, the ceiling cracked. Dust rained down. A massive explosion shook the hall. The enemy had come again, but this time, it was no small raid. The fortress shook as though the mountain itself was alive. The cries of battle echoed, screams, weapons firing, stone tearing apart. The soldier pulled the child behind him, scanning the chaos. A group of raiders stormed through the smoke. Their armor was jagged, painted in blood-red marks. Their eyes burned with fury. They were not here for loot. They were here for one prize, the general's heir. The guards moved to form a wall of defense, but the raiders struck fast, cutting through them like knives. The child froze, terror locking their limbs. The soldier did not freeze. He shoved the child back, then grabbed a fallen guard's weapon, a strange alien blade that hummed with power. It felt heavy, wrong in his hands, but he held it tight. The first raider lunged. The soldier slashed, the blade cutting through armor with a flash of light. The alien fell. Another charged. He ducked low, drove the blade upward, and the raider collapsed with a scream. The child gasped. This was no ordinary prisoner. This was a soldier, a human warrior fighting with every ounce of training and will. More raiders came. The soldier pushed the child behind a broken wall. Do not move, he barked. Then he fought like a storm. Every swing, every strike was desperate but precise. He had no armor, no backup, no orders, but he had something stronger, determination. The child's life was in his hands, and failure was not an option. One raider grabbed him from behind. The soldier twisted, slamming the alien into the wall with brute strength. Another raised a spear toward the child. The soldier's heart stopped, but his body moved faster. He threw the blade across the chamber. It spun through the air, striking the raider's chest before the weapon could fall. The child screamed, covering their face, but the soldier was already pulling them away. Smoke filled the room. More footsteps thundered in the hall. There was no time. The soldier grabbed the child's hand and ran. Through fire, through falling stone, through corridors filled with chaos. He didn't know the fortress layout, but he knew one thing. He had to keep moving. The child stumbled, fear in every step, but the soldier pulled them forward. Behind them, the sounds of pursuit grew louder. At last, they reached a sealed gate. The soldier slammed his fist against it, but it didn't open. He cursed under his breath. Then, with a roar, he threw his weight against the panel. Sparks flew. The door cracked open just enough. He shoved the child through first. Then he followed, barely making it before another explosion rocked the hall. They collapsed together in a dim passage, breathing hard. The child's small hands clung to his arm. Their glowing eyes looked at him not with fear now, but with something else. Trust. You saved me. Again, the child whispered. The soldier didn't answer. His chest rose and fell with heavy breaths, his body aching. He didn't know why he kept doing this. He could have escaped in the chaos. He could have left the child to their fate. But he didn't. Something deeper than duty had taken hold of him. Above them, the fortress groaned under fire. The war raged on. But in this hidden passage, in this fleeting moment, something greater than war was born. The bond between human and air. And somewhere, in the heart of the battle, the alien general was racing through the fortress, unaware that his greatest enemy was becoming his child's protector. The fortress still smoked from the battle. Broken stone and scorched walls lined the corridors. Alien guards carried their wounded, their glowing armor cracked and blackened. The attack had been fierce, but the fortress stood, and in the quiet after the storm, whispers spread like fire. The human soldier had fought to protect the general's heir. He had bled for the child. He had faced raiders with nothing but stolen weapons and stubborn will. To the alien soldiers, it was unthinkable. To their commanders, it was dangerous. To their leader, the general, it was something that demanded answers. The soldier sat in the child's chamber, body aching, skin bruised, but his eyes sharp as ever. The child sat beside him, refusing to leave his side. Their small hand rested lightly on his arm, as though afraid he might disappear if they let go. The door opened. The room seemed to grow colder. The alien general entered, taller than any guard, his armor gleaming even through the dust of battle. His glowing eyes burned with both anger and confusion. The guards bowed their heads in respect, but the child did not move. They only pressed closer to the human, the general's gaze fixed on the soldier. Silence filled the room. The weight of it was crushing. Finally, the general spoke. His voice was deep, sharp, every word edged with suspicion. My enemies call you monster. My soldiers call you dangerous. Yet my child calls you protector. Tell me, human, what are you? The soldier did not rise. He did not bow. He simply met the general's burning stare with steady eyes. His voice was calm even in the face of death. I am a soldier. I fight when I must. I protect when I must. That is all. The general studied him, searching for lies. His hand rested on the hilt of his blade. At any moment, he could end this man's life. But the child broke the silence. Father, he saved me, they whispered. Twice, when even your guards could not. The general's jaw tightened. His gaze flicked to his heir, then back to the soldier. And why? He demanded. Why would a human risk his life for mine? The soldier's answer was simple. Because no child deserves to die. The word struck harder than any blade. For the first time, the general's eyes flickered with something other than rage. Doubt. The guards shifted uneasily. To them, this was treason. To protect the child was expected. To trust a human was madness. But the child spoke again, firmer this time. I trust him. The general's expression hardened. He turned to his heir, his voice low but heavy. Trust is dangerous, it blinds. It kills. Yet the child only shook their head. He did not blind me. He saved me. Twice. He is not like they say. The soldier remained silent, letting the words hang in the air. The general stepped closer. His towering figure loomed over the human, his glowing eyes burning into him. The soldier felt the heat of his presence, the threat of his power. Yet he did not flinch. You know, the general said coldly, if you wished, you could have run. You could have left my child to die and found your freedom in the chaos. But you did not. Why? The soldier's jaw tightened. He looked at the child, then back at the general. Because some things are worth more than freedom. For a long moment, no one spoke. Then the general did something no one expected. He turned away. Leave us, he ordered the guards. The chamber emptied until only the three of them remained. The general looked at his child, his voice softer now. Do you truly believe this human is worthy of your trust? The child nodded without hesitation. Yes. The general exhaled slowly, his gaze returning to the soldier. There was no mercy in his eyes, but neither was there simple hatred. Something else stirred within him, something dangerous. You are still my enemy, the general said. Do not forget that. But from this moment, your chains are gone. You will remain here not as a prisoner, not as a soldier, but as my child's protector. Fail, and your death will be slow. Succeed and... He paused, his voice lowering. And perhaps you will show me what humans truly are. The soldier rose to his feet. His body ached, but his stance was steady. He gave no bow, no salute, only a single nod. I will protect the child, the general's eyes narrowed. Then let us see if your words hold truth. He turned and left, the heavy door closing behind him. The child smiled faintly, relief washing over their face. They tugged at the soldier's arm. See? He listens. The soldier said nothing. His mind churned. He was no longer just a prisoner, no longer just a survivor. Now he stood in the most dangerous place of all, between trust and fear, between two worlds at war. And though he would not admit it, a single thought crept into his heart. Perhaps the fate of more than just the child rested in his hands. The fortress never healed fully from the last attack. Its walls were cracked, its halls scarred with fire. Soldiers worked endlessly, repairing what they could, but the air inside was tense. Everyone knew another storm was coming. The human soldier felt it too. He stayed close to the child, never far from their side. Though he was no longer chained, he was watched from the shadows. Guards followed his every move, their hands always near their weapons. To them, he was both protector and threat. The child didn't care. They laughed with him, asked him questions, pulled him into their world as if he were family. At times, the soldier almost forgot where he was. Almost. But the peace shattered when the alarm screamed again. This time, it wasn't a small raid. It was war crashing against the fortress walls. The ground shook violently. Explosions ripped through stone. The air filled with smoke and fire. The general's army rushed to defend the gates. Orders were shouted, weapons charged, the fortress itself roaring to life. Yet deep inside, in the chamber of the air, chaos reached too soon. The doors cracked open as panicked guards rushed inside. "They've breached the outer defenses," one shouted. "We must move the child now." The general had prepared for this moment. A secret path beneath the fortress, hidden for centuries, could lead his heir to safety if the fortress fell. The guards knew the way. But with the battle raging above, the path was dangerous and unstable. The soldier looked at the child, then at the frightened guards. He knew their fear. He knew what it meant when defenses fell. Death was close. "Stay behind me," the soldier ordered. The child obeyed without hesitation. Even the guards hesitated, uneasy at taking orders from a human. But when the walls shook again and fire spilled into the corridor, they followed. The escape began. Through twisting halls, through smoke-filled tunnels, they ran. The soldier led, blade in hand, eyes sharp. The child clung to his arm, trusting him more than their own guards. But the enemy was everywhere. Raiders poured into the corridors, their weapons glowing red. They wanted the air. They would tear down the fortress stone by stone to take them. The first wave struck in the tunnels. The guards fought hard, their blades clashing against the raiders, but they were outnumbered. One guard fell, then another. The soldier pushed the child behind him, his movements sharp, brutal. He fought with both human training and raw survival instinct, cutting through raiders with precision. The path grew tighter, the air thick with dust. Another explosion thundered above, collapsing part of the tunnel. Rocks fell, blocking their way back. There was no turning around, only forward. The child stumbled, coughing from the smoke. The soldier scooped them up, carrying them as they pushed deeper into the darkness. The guards grew weaker, their formation breaking. One shouted, "We cannot hold them much longer." The soldier's mind raced. He could hear more raiders behind them. Their footsteps thundered closer. The tunnel forked ahead, two paths, both uncertain. "Which way?" he barked. The guards hesitated, unsure. The maps of the old tunnels were broken, unreliable. Choosing wrong could mean death. The soldier didn't wait. He listened. The left path shook with approaching footsteps, the right was silent. He turned right, they ran, the tunnel narrowed, the air colder now. Strange glowing stones lit the walls, pulsing like a heartbeat. The sound of battle grew faint behind them, but the danger was not gone. The silence was worse. At last they reached a massive chamber deep beneath the fortress. A hidden gate loomed at the far end, carved into the rock. Beyond it lay the mountains, freedom, survival, but the enemy had been faster. Dozens of raiders waited inside the chamber, their red armor glowing in the dark. They had guessed the path. They had set the trap. The child gasped. The guards froze. The soldier set the child down gently, his jaw tight, his grip firm on his blade. He knew what this meant. The raiders stepped forward, their leader raising a cruel spear. His voice echoed in the chamber. "Give us the air, human, and we may let you live." The soldier's answer was simple. He stepped in front of the child, blade ready. "Over my dead body." The chamber erupted in chaos. The guards fought bravely, but many fell quickly. The soldier fought like a man possessed. Every strike, every block was fueled not by orders or duty, but by something deeper. An oath he never spoke aloud. Protect the child. The raiders swarmed him. Blades cut into his arms, his back. Blood stained his torn armor. But still he fought. Still he stood, the child screamed his name, their voice breaking. They tried to reach him, but a guard pulled them back, shielding them from the chaos. At last the soldier's blade cut down the raider leader. The enemy faltered, their formation breaking. The survivors fled into the shadows, unwilling to face him further. The chamber was silent again, save for the soldier's ragged breathing. He stood in the center, blood dripping from his wounds, his blade trembling in his hand. He turned to the child. Their glowing eyes filled with tears, but also with something new. Not fear, not awe, Something stronger. You would die for me, the child whispered. The soldier said nothing. He simply gave a small nod. The guards opened the hidden gate and fresh air rushed in. The mountains stretched wide beyond, the sky dark with smoke but open, free. The child clung to the soldier's arm as they stepped into the night. Behind them, the fortress still burned. Ahead of them, danger still waited, but the bond between soldier and air had become unbreakable, and far away the alien general stood at the highest tower, watching the flames. His air was gone, taken through the escape path. But he knew one truth that unsettled him deeply. The human soldier had chosen again not to run, not to betray, but to protect. And that choice was changing everything. The mountain wind howled through the night. Far below, the fortress still burned, its flames glowing against the dark sky. The human soldier and the child had escaped, but they were not safe. Every shadow in the mountains could hide an enemy. Every echo could be the sound of pursuit. The child clung to the soldier's arm as they moved through rocky paths. He kept his blade ready, his eyes sharp. Wounded and exhausted, he pressed on. Stopping meant death. Behind them, a handful of loyal guards struggled to keep up. Their armor was cracked, their bodies weary, but they followed because the child was alive. And because the human, their enemy, had earned a strange, unwanted respect. At dawn, they reached a hidden valley where the survivors could rest. The soldier placed the child against a rock and checked their wounds. Small scratches, nothing serious. He sighed with relief. The child smiled faintly. "You never leave me." The soldier only shook his head. "Not while I can still stand." Hours later, the general arrived. He came not with soldiers, but alone, his golden armor dimmed by ash. His presence was like thunder rolling across the valley. Everyone dropped to their knees except the human soldier. He stayed standing, his body tense, ready for whatever would come. The general's eyes locked on his heir. Relief flickered in his face for the briefest second. Then his gaze shifted to the soldier, bruised, bloodied, but alive. "You kept your word," the general said slowly. His voice carried both suspicion and something else. The soldier did not bow. "I told you, I will protect the child." The child ran forward, throwing their arms around their father. "He saved me again, father." "The raiders tried to take me, but he fought them all. He would not let me go." The general froze, torn between pride in his heir's survival and unease at the truth in their words. He looked at the guards, who nodded silently. The stories matched. A human had defended his blood more fiercely than his own warriors. The general studied the soldier for a long time. His voice was quiet, heavy. "Why? You could have fled into the night. You could have left us to die. Instead, you bleed for a child who is not your own. Why?" The soldier's answer came without hesitation. "Because war takes too much already. Let it not take a child." The words sank deep, sharper than any blade. For years, the general had told himself the war was necessary, that humans were cruel, greedy, a threat to his people's survival. But now, standing before him was proof that the stories might not be complete. His heir clung to the human, refusing to let go. Their glowing eyes were full of trust. The general had never seen them look at anyone that way, not even his own guards. The general's chest tightened. For the first time, doubt crept into his heart. That night, the valley was silent except for the crackle of small fires. The soldiers slept uneasily. The child slept peacefully, curled against the soldier's side. The general did not sleep. He stood apart, watching. His mind was a battlefield now, duty against truth, hatred against doubt. At midnight, he approached the soldier who was awake, sharpening the alien blade by the fire. "You are dangerous," the general said. The soldier looked up, his expression calm. "So are you." A faint smile touched the general's lips, though it did not reach his eyes. "Perhaps. But you confuse me, human. You are my prisoner. Yet you fight as my son's shield. You are my enemy. Yet you show more honor than some of my own kind." The soldier said nothing, only returned to his blade. The general continued, his voice lower now. "This war, maybe it is not as simple as I believed." The soldier met his gaze, his voice steady. "It never is." The silence stretched, filled with the weight of years of hatred. Then the general turned away. "Rest. Tomorrow we move. The raiders will not stop. And if my enemies know my heir lives, they will come with greater force." The soldier nodded once. But in his chest a thought grew. Perhaps he was no longer just surviving. Perhaps he was changing the course of something much larger than himself. The next morning, when the army regrouped in the valley, the general stood before them. His voice was sharp, commanding. "My heir lives because of this human. You will not touch him. You will not question him. Until I decide otherwise, he stands under my protection." Shock rippled through the soldiers. A human under the general's protection? It was unheard of. Yet no one dared speak against him. The soldier stood tall, silent, the child smiling at his side. The general's declaration was more than protection. It was the first crack in a wall of hatred built over generations. And though no one knew it yet, that single choice was the start of something that could end a war or burn both worlds to ashes. The valley had become a camp of survivors. Fires burned low, soldiers moved quietly, and the wounded rested under makeshift shelters. The human soldier sat apart, sharpening the alien blade he had claimed in battle. The child sat beside him, tracing shapes in the dirt. Humming softly, it was a strange piece, fragile, trembling, ready to shatter. Word had spread quickly. The general had declared protection for a human prisoner. Some soldiers obeyed in silence. Others whispered of betrayal. Some sharpened their weapons, their eyes dark with hatred. The air was heavy with unspoken questions, and at the center of it all stood the general, torn between two worlds. At dawn he gathered his commanders. His voice was iron, his presence like a storm. "The raiders will return. They know my heir lives. They will bring more armies, more fire. If we stay divided, they will destroy us." One commander stepped forward. His armor was scorched, his face hard. "Then kill the human. He is a distraction. His presence weakens us." The general's hand fell to the hilt of his sword. His voice cut like steel. "He is the reason my child lives. Speak against him again and you will answer to me." Silence. The soldier, watching from afar, understood the weight of those words. The general had chosen, for now, to keep him alive. But protection was not trust. Not yet. That night, as the camp slept, the general visited the fire where the soldier sat. The child was asleep, curled in a blanket, their glowing eyes dimmed in dreams. The general studied the human for a long time. "You confuse my people. You confuse me." The soldier looked up, calm but wary. "War is full of confusion." The general's jaw tightened. "I have led armies for decades. I have seen humans burn cities, slaughter innocents. I believed you were nothing but beasts with clever tools. Yet you—" His gaze drifted to the sleeping child. "You risk your life for one knot of your blood. Why?" The soldier's answer was quiet but steady. "Because if war takes away our humanity, then what is left of us?" Protecting the child was not strategy. It was choice. The only choice worth making. The general turned the words over in his mind. They cut deeper than any weapon. For years he had taught that humans could not change, that they were ruthless. But here was proof that he might have been wrong. Before dawn, the raiders came. The mountains shook with their march. Thousands, not dozens this time. Red banners burned against the sky. Their war cries echoed like thunder. They had united under a single purpose: destroy the general, seize the air, end the bloodline. The valley erupted in chaos. Alien soldiers rushed to defend, weapons blazing. The ground trembled beneath the clash of armies. In the heart of the battle, the raiders broke through. Their eyes fixed on the child. The soldier moved like lightning. He grabbed the child, pulling them close, shielding them with his own body. The general fought beside him, his golden armor blazing in the smoke. Father and enemy stood shoulder to shoulder, blades striking in unison. For the first time, they fought not against each other, but together. The child's cries echoed in the storm of war. The soldier bled, the general roared, the raiders fell one after another. Yet the wave kept coming, too many, too strong. At last, the raider leader appeared, a giant, his armor black as night, his spear burning red. He pointed at the child. "The heir dies tonight." The soldier stepped forward, blade raised even as his body screamed in pain. The general stepped beside him. Their eyes met for a single heartbeat. Enemies no longer. They charged together. The clash shook the valley. The raider leader struck with fury, his spear cutting the air. The soldier blocked, barely holding. The general's blade cut deep, sparks flying. The fight raged, brutal and endless, until finally, together, they struck as one. The raider leader fell. The enemy army faltered, their cries breaking into chaos. Without their leader, their unity shattered. They fled into the mountains, leaving behind only smoke and silence. The valley was saved. When the dust settled, the general stood tall, his blade dripping, his armor cracked. The soldier knelt, blood soaking his side but still alive. The child ran to him, tears streaming. "You did it. You saved us." The general looked at the human for a long time. Then in front of his army he spoke words no one thought possible. "This man is no longer prisoner. He is no longer enemy. He is protector of my blood and ally to my people. From this day he stands among us." Shock rippled through the soldiers. Some bowed their heads in acceptance. Others stared in disbelief. But none dared to speak against the general. The soldier rose slowly, his body trembling but his spirit unbroken. He looked at the child, then at the general. "If this means peace," he said, "then I will fight not against you but beside you." The general's eyes softened just slightly. He extended his hand. For the first time, a human and an alien leader clasped hands not in battle but in truce. The war was not over, but something greater had begun. The child smiled through tears, holding both their hands together. Then maybe a new future is possible, and for the first time in generations, hope rose above the smoke of war.